Hey everyone, welcome back. Now, I had this bag of frozen vegetables, and typically what I do is when I'm cutting up a vegetable such as a carrot or celery or some sort of root vegetable like that, I put all the stuff I'm going to throw in the garbage into a plastic bag, throw it in the freezer, and as it builds up, I have a bag of vegetable parts that I can turn into a stock. And I have these green onions that I grew myself, so I have a pot, and I just keep cutting them when I need some, and in this case I just grabbed a bunch of them and I'm gonna throw them into this vegetable stock as well. So all I'm doing now is I'm just cutting these up, just chopping it, nothing crazy here, it doesn't have to be really fine, just enough to give a little bit of space. Add a little bit of olive oil into a pan, put those green onions in. I have 5 cloves of garlic that I just quickly smash, and then again a very light chop. You don't have to mince these, but just something pretty basic. Throw those into the pot. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of pepper, just a couple grinds there, some salt, maybe a teaspoon or so, and then I'm going to put in these frozen vegetables. So again, you don't have to worry about how much this actually is. It's a couple of cups of vegetables, and again, as I said, things that are in here are pieces of mushrooms, carrots, onion, celery, leeks, things like that. And I just add enough water to cover the vegetables. And in this case, I think it was around 4 liters of water or so. Turn that on high. Add a little bit of thyme. I think I added 2 teaspoons or so. Again, eyeballing this. And yeah, set it on the stove and give it a quick stir and wait for it to come to a boil. So that's pretty much step 1. It's a very easy stock to make, and it's great to have all these leftover vegetable parts to throw together into a nice stock that you can use later. So during the cooking process, you are going to want to maybe stir it a few times and make sure it's not rapidly boiling. You do want a light simmer for around an hour. And once that's done, typically what I do is I take a large bowl, put it in the sink just in case I spill, and take a strainer with large holes, and I pour the stock through that first, and that catches any of the big pieces. So you can see here. Now the stock has that color because there are things like onion skins in there that do color the stock a little bit darker than you may normally see, but again, totally fine. We're straining everything out, so you don't need to worry about skins or anything like that. And once I have taken all the stock and I have the big pieces, let's sort of let that strain. It looks fantastic already. It's really, really good. So once that's mostly strained, I'm gonna set this strainer aside, and I take a fine mesh strainer afterwards, and I run the stock through the fine mesh strainer. So I'll get another bowl. I know there's a lot of cleaning up, but I'll get another bowl, smaller one, and I'll use this fine mesh strainer to just catch any of the small particles and anything that sort of slipped through the cracks on the larger hole strainer. So again, put that in the sink just so nothing spills, and pour it through the strainer. And you can see already there's a bit of debris there. Could be some of the thyme, some of the vegetable pieces that kind of fell apart. But so this is kind of where I'd like to stop. If you really want to go for it, you could run it through, say, a coffee filter or something like that. But I find this is usually good enough. What we want to do now, though, is we really want to cool this down as quick as possible so that it doesn't just sit on the counter for hours. But before I do that, I do want to give it a taste to see that if I do need to add any more salt or anything like that, I can put it back into a pan and cook it. Now, the way I'm doing it here, I do add a little bit more water, and I do under-season it just a little bit, because depending on what I'm going to use it for, whether it's rice or if I'm going to make a soup or something like that, I'm going to probably season that additionally when I'm cooking it. So I do like to leave it a little bit less concentrated. What I'm doing now, though, is filling up the sink with cold water and putting this into that cold water that's filling up. And it's a good way to transfer the heat and use the cold water to cool down the stock very quickly. And every once in a while you can stir the stock in the container, and also be sure to sort of move around that cold water or refill it if it gets too warm. I think through this process I actually refilled it twice, and it took maybe 10-15 minutes for it to cool down to a good temperature that I could put it into a container. So here we are, just filling up the sink and yeah, cooling down the stock again as quick as possible. So you just leave that and come back to it once it's all cooled down. Find a container of your choice. I really like these containers here with the reusable lids. You can buy different sealers for it too once they wear out. But these ones are really great, just stick in the fridge. So I just pour the stock into one of these containers here. Now if you need 2 containers, 3 containers, I mean depending on how many vegetables you had and how much water you used, you may need a few containers, but here's the one. Just give it a seal and that's it. You know, it's nice, dark looking stock, and you can use it just about anything. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.